I became a girl after playing video games. Kyle had always been the kind of guy who thrived in the digital world. Growing up, he was never the most outgoing or confident person, but in front of a screen, he was unstoppable. From the moment he first picked up a controller, he was hooked on gaming. It became his escape, a place where he could shed the awkwardness of reality and become anyone or anything he wanted. So when the announcement for the new virtual reality tournament was made, Kyle was the first to sign up. The competition promised fame, fortune, and the chance to be recognized as the best gamer in the world. But there was one catch, a quirky twist designed to shake things up. Every player's avatar would be the opposite gender. At first, Kyle shrugged it off. It seemed like a fun gimmick to make the tournament more interesting, nothing more. He wasn't too thrilled about seeing himself as a woman, but that wasn't going to stop him from winning. Little did Kyle know that small twist would set off a chain of events that would change his life forever, both in the game and in reality. The tournament began, and as soon as Kyle put on the VR headset, his surroundings disappeared, and the game world enveloped him. His avatar appeared before him, Kyra, a fierce and muscular warrior woman with long red hair and an air of unshakable confidence. Kyle was taken aback by her sharp, powerful features, but the more he moved as her, the more he realized that something about controlling Kyra felt right. Her movements were graceful, her strength undeniable. It wasn't just about playing a new character, it was as if Kyra was bringing out a side of Kyle he had never fully embraced. As Kyra, Kyle quickly rose through the ranks. His gaming sessions became longer, more intense, and more exhilarating. With every match, he found himself becoming more connected to Kyra, not just as a tool for victory, but as a persona that allowed him to express confidence and assertiveness in ways he had never done before. There was something undeniably empowering about moving through the virtual world as Kyra, her swift combat skills and strategic mind translating into an edge he hadn't realized he was missing. But as Kyle continued to dominate the tournament, he noticed that his time as Kyra was starting to influence him outside of the game. He began to admire the way Kyra moved, the way her clothes hugged her body, the way her hair cascaded over her shoulders. It sparked a curiosity that Kyle had never allowed himself to explore before. Slowly, the game started to bleed into reality. One night, after a particularly successful match, Kyle caught himself lingering in front of the mirror. The reflection staring back at him was his own, but in his mind he saw Kyra, the same strong, graceful, confident woman he had become in the game. He couldn't shake the feeling that perhaps Kyra wasn't just a part of the virtual world. Maybe, in some way, she was a reflection of a deeper truth he hadn't yet realized. It started small. Kyle found himself drawn to women's fashion. He would scroll through websites late at night, admiring how the clothes flowed and imagining how they might look on him. Eventually, he decided to take a leap of faith. He ordered a simple dress online, a modest casual outfit that seemed harmless enough to experiment with. When it arrived, he waited until he was alone, heart pounding as he unpacked the box. The moment Kyle slipped into the dress, something inside him clicked. The fabric felt unfamiliar yet comforting as it hugged his body in a way his usual clothes didn't. He turned to the mirror, and for the first time, he didn't just see Kyle, the awkward, uncertain guy who had always kept to himself. Instead, he saw Kyra, or at least a version of her. His hands trembled as he adjusted the dress, but the longer he stood there, the more natural it felt. It wasn't just about the clothes, it was about finally acknowledging something that had been buried deep within him for years. From that moment, Kyle's curiosity blossomed into full exploration. He began experimenting with makeup, learning from online tutorials how to apply foundation, eyeliner, and lipstick. At first, it was awkward, and his early attempts were far from perfect. But with time, he grew more comfortable, and each time he looked in the mirror, he saw less of Kyle and more of Kyra. The bold, unapologetically feminine figure from the game was starting to emerge in real life. As Kyle's transformation progressed, he kept his new identity a secret from his friends and family. He still dominated the VR tournament as Kyra, but outside of the game, he started to embrace more of Kyra's persona in his daily life. He began wearing women's clothes more often, starting with subtle items like hoodies and skinny jeans, then gradually working his way up to dresses and heels. The more he embraced his new look, the more natural it felt. Kyra wasn't just an avatar anymore, she was a part of him that he was finally allowing to come to the surface. As Kyle continued to experiment with his appearance, he realized that he wanted more than just the clothes and makeup. He wanted to physically embody Kyra in a way that went beyond the virtual world. After weeks of research and introspection, Kyle made the decision to start hormone replacement therapy, HRT. It was a big step, but he knew it was the right one. The first few months on HRT brought gradual changes. His skin softened, his body began to shift, and his features became more feminine. His chest started to develop, and his waist became more defined. Every time he looked in the mirror, he saw less of the person he had been and more of the woman he was becoming. The transformation wasn't just physical, it was emotional and psychological as well. Kyle, or rather Kyra, was finally stepping into her true self. With each passing day, Kyra became more present in Kyle's life. He adopted the name not just in the game, but in reality as well. Friends and family were initially shocked, but as Kyra explained her journey, they began to understand. Some relationships grew stronger, while others faded away, but Kyra knew that this was the path she was meant to walk. As the VR tournament reached its final rounds, Kyra knew that the game had become secondary to the journey she was on. She still dominated the competition, but the tournament no longer held the same importance it once did. It was a stepping stone, a catalyst for her transformation. In the end, Kyra won the tournament, but the true victory was the discovery of her authentic self. After the tournament, Kyra decided to fully embrace her new identity, both in the game and in the real world. She continued to game, but now her focus was on living her life as the woman she had always known she was. The lines between the virtual and real worlds had blurred beyond recognition, and Kyra had helped Kyle discover something far deeper than just gaming prowess. She had helped him find freedom, confidence, and self-acceptance. Kyra's journey was far from over, but the tournament had marked the beginning of a new chapter in her life. What had started as a quirky gaming twist had turned into a life-changing experience, one that led Kyra to understand who she truly was. The virtual world had allowed her to explore her identity in ways she had never imagined, and now she was ready to live that truth in the real world. The adventure that had started with a controller in hand was now a journey of self-discovery, and for Kyra, there was no going back, only forward into a life filled with authenticity, confidence, and the freedom to be herself.